Good morning, dear children. Today we are meeting for our online class, and this is for class 9, and the subject is computer application. Today we are going to talk about all the topics that we studied so far under the heading of Basics of Information Technology. We studied different topics, multiple topics, and in this session I would be taking up few topics as a revision activity. Now, purposely I am not giving any detailed information in this presentation. Just listen to me very carefully, because all the information that I would be discussing or all the topics that I would be revising is available in the form of notes or presentation with you. So just listen to me what I am going to discuss in this class, and just after this you can just browse all the topics that are available with you in the form of different presentations. In this class I am going to discuss about 4 topics of Basics of Information Technology. The topics are under subheadings of computer systems, memory, storage devices, input and output devices. So I would be talking about all these headings and the subtopics that we covered under all these headings one by one, so that all the topics are quickly revised and you can just look at the detailed contents in individual presentations. So 4 topics we are going to cover today: computer system, memory, storage device, input and output device. Let us begin with computer system. This was the topic of our first class, and we covered few headings under this. We talked about definition, we talked about IPO cycle, we talked about classification of computers, then we talked about components of computers, then we talked about storage devices and input and output devices. So let me quickly revise all these headings one by one. When you are asked to define computer system or a computer, you can simply say it is an electronic device which has a capacity to accept any input, process it, and then give out some meaningful result. So you can say it is a device which can accept any input, process it, and then give out some meaningful result. If any device is performing this basic activity, then you can call it as a computer system. Next we talk about IPO cycle. Just now I talked about input, process and output. So IPO cycle is nothing but an activity in which all these 3 sub-activities are being carried out: inputting of some data, processing of some data, and then giving out some meaningful result. Now, when you are asked to write in detail about IPO cycle, you can give the examples, simple examples. For example, I say show the IPO cycle for printing the sum of 2 inputted number. Then in that case the input can be shown as 2 numbers, process is adding 2 numbers or calculation of the sum, and output is final result. So in this way any one single activity can be shown through IPO cycle, or IPO means input, process and output cycle. After this we talked about classification of computer. Classification of computer was done on the basis of 3 main criteria. First one is on the basis of type, or type can also be called as the data that we are feeding inside the machine. Then the second classification was on the basis of size, and the third classification was on the basis of purpose. Now let us take up one by one each of them. if I say classification of computers on the basis of type or on the basis of input data, we can divide computers into three main categories as analog computers, digital computers and hybrid computers. When I talk about analog computers, devices that can accept any input which is continuously changing with time. If you have a device something like this, then you can say it is an analog device. And the examples that we discussed were thermometer, voltmeter. You can call all these devices as an analog computer, because if I take the example of thermometer, temperature is acting as an input, and you can never say that temperature is always going to be this particular value, any value that you consider. It will keep on changing with time. So you can say it is a analog data, and on the basis of this we can say this device is a analog computer. Next is digital computer. Computers which accepts data in the form of digits. We talked about binary digits 0 and 1, and I told you that 0 and 1 are nothing but representation of absence of current in a circuit and presence of current in a circuit, and they make it as binary digit. So if you have a device which is working on the concepts of bits and bytes, then you can say it is a digital computer. Then I talked about hybrid computer as the third category of this classification, a kind of a device which has features of both analog as well as digital. And the example that we talked about was ECG machine. The second category of classification, or the second type of classification, was on the basis of size, and size not in terms of physical size but in terms of capability of computer or effectiveness of a computer. How much data can it store? What speed does it offer? What devices can be used? How much data can be handled? And on the basis of this, we talked about categories as microcomputer, mini computer, mainframe computer, and finally supercomputer. So this is the third classification, or you can say second classification, second type of classification. And the third classification was on the basis of purpose. That means either it is a general purpose computer or a special purpose computer. General purpose computer that can be used in various fields by various group of people. Special purpose computer, computers that are designed for any specific activity and cannot be used in general or cannot be used by any other activity or application for which it is designed for. So this was a classification of computers that we studied. After that we talked about components of computer. Now components of computer is very commonly referred to as you can say in the form of block diagram of a computer, where we show the input unit or input device, then in the center we show the central processing unit, and then we talk about output unit. And this CPU is further divided into three parts as memory unit, arithmetic and logic unit, and control unit. Apart from these three main blocks like input, CPU and output, we have one more block at the base of CPU which is known as a secondary storage device. That means where we are storing our data on any of the external device. So we talked about components of computers. Components: input device, a kind of a device that can accept data from the user, send it to the computer where it is processed. Output device, after processing the device which is showing you the result, that is the output device. So we talked about this. Then we talked about inside CPU, it is divided into, like I just now told you, it is divided into memory unit, then control unit and arithmetic and logic unit. After this we talked about storage devices. That means devices that are storing our data either externally or even internally. Why I am using the word internally? Because in hard disk we are storing our data, and most of the time the hard disks are internally installed or placed inside CPU. But nowadays we can see the hard disks that are kept outside computer system also. But storage devices are kind of a device where you are storing your data on permanent basis, and it stays there until or unless you remove it. So when I talk about the features of storage device, you can say they are non-volatile. Non-volatile means that data stays there, remains there, is not lost until or unless you yourself delete it. Second feature of storage device, we can say mass storage. That means huge volume of data can be stored. Then they are very cost effective and they are reusable. That means once, let's say you have a pen drive, and once it is full, then you can remove all the data again and you can use the same pen drive to store new data. So this is the reusability feature of any of the storage device. Next is input and output devices. Input and output devices, devices that accept the data from the user are input device. Output devices, devices that show the output to the user or give the output to the user are known as output devices. So this is all what we did in class where we covered the heading computer system. Next we talked about memory. Now memory is nothing but, you can say, a place where you store your data. Now this memory can be referred or called as either primary memory or secondary memory. Now when I say primary memory, that means we are referring to a place inside computer system and data is being stored there. When I use the word secondary memory, that means when you are storing your data somewhere outside computer system, then you call those storage devices as secondary memory or secondary storage device, and many times they are also known as auxiliary devices. Okay. Achha. One important thing, children, when I use the word input and output device, it refers to input devices separately and output devices separately. But when I refer a term as I/O devices, be very careful, I/O. That means I am talking about devices that acts as both input as well as output. And all secondary storage devices where we store our data on permanent basis, we can retrieve our data, access our data, take out our data, delete our data, and again store our data. We are performing activities like these, so you can say it is a I/O device. Okay, coming back to memory, we talked about primary and secondary memory. Secondary memory we would be covering in the storage device heading also. So let's talk about or concentrate on the primary memory. That means the memory inside computer system, and it is of two types: random access memory and read-only memory. Let us now talk about read-only memory first. When I say read-only memory, that means data can only be read. We cannot write anything onto it. And when I explained this, I talked about manufacturer's instructions. That means manufacturers put their instructions inside ROM. So every time when you open your computer system, you can see all the logos of the brand and various other informations which is always there. That means every time when you switch on your computer, you get the same messages or same instructions or same data again and again. Why? Because it is permanently stored on read-only memory. In contrast to this, we have another kind of a primary memory which is known as RAM. Now when I say RAM, that means every time when I am making use of any of the application or any of the file or any work I am doing inside computer system, what actually I am doing is I am picking that data or that application which is stored on a permanent storage hard disk, and then I am using it. Now if I am using the word using it, that means I am bringing that particular application into computer's memory, and which memory? It is actually RAM. So you can talk about differences of RAM and ROM. Like I say, RAM is a volatile memory, that means if electricity goes down, then all the data gets deleted. ROM is a permanent memory or a non-volatile memory, that means data stays there even if there is a power supply cutoff. And this is the reason why every time when you switch on your computer, you can see those instructions which are being put by manufacturer. So when I say ROM and RAM, I talked about differences between RAM and ROM also. The basic differences being volatile and non-volatile, stores permanent instructions. Basic BIOS is there, a special kind of a program whose function is to find the operating system or fetch the operating system from hard disk or secondary storage, and this BIOS is permanently there in ROM. Then we talked about different types of RAM and ROM. If you remember, RAM can be divided into two types as static RAM and dynamic RAM. And when I talk about ROM, it is divided into, or you can say we talked about three different types of ROM as PROM, programmable read-only memory, then EPROM, erasable programmable read-only memory, EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. After that, we also talked about the unit of storage. That means if my data is getting stored inside computer system, what is the storage unit? Every data inside computer system gets stored in the form of 1 byte. So 1 character is occupying is referred as collection of 8 bits. Bits means 0 and 1. So 1 byte makes, or you can say 8 bit makes 1 byte. So 1024 bytes make 1 kilobyte, then 1024 kilobyte makes 1 megabyte, 1024 megabyte makes 1 gigabyte, and so on. So this is very important concept, children, that every time when we are storing data inside computer, it is talked in terms of bits and bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, and so on. Next, we talked about storage devices. Now when I say storage devices, they can also be called as secondary storage devices, auxiliary storage devices, and I/O devices also. Again I am saying, children, I/O, capital I / capital O, input output. That means devices that can be used for both purpose, inputting the data as well as taking out the data. The features of I/O devices are same as storage devices. That means they can store huge volume of data, they are non-volatile in nature, they are very cost effective, and they are reusable. So the most common storage devices that we are making use nowadays is hard disk. Hard disk come in two forms, either as internal hard disk or external hard disk. The best feature of hard disk is that it can store a very huge volume of data. Nowadays we are getting hard disk in TBs or terabytes. Then CD-ROMs, DVD, digital video disc. Everybody is aware of these are circular disc, magnetic disc on which data is read, and the device with the help of which we access these discs is known as disk drives, which is placed in our central processing unit, and we can access the data from these discs, either digital video disc or normal CD disc. The capacity of DVD is much more higher than simple CD. Nowadays we are making use of DVDs only to store huge volume of data. Another very common secondary storage device or a storage device that we make use nowadays is pen drives or flash drives. You know, they come in the capacity of GBs, 4 GB, 8 GB, 16 GB, 32 GB pen drives. And if you understand the concept of unit of storage, then you can yourself understand that how much 4 GB pen drive can store in it. Then we talked about memory sticks or memory cards, a small device which is very popularly known as memory cards, used in cameras, used in mobile phones, and they are very good to store a huge volume of data, and they are portable. You can just take out any of the memory card and place it anywhere. So this is all we talked about under the heading of storage device. And the last thing that I would like to revise is input and output devices. Now here I am talking about input devices separately and output devices separately. The most common input device is keyboard. Everybody is aware of keyboard, and this is the basic input device that we are using nowadays. The different keys are there on the keyboards. You can say it makes use of all alphabetical keys. Then we have function keys, we have space bar, we have toggle keys. Toggle keys means the keys which if you press once they are activated, if you press it again they are deactivated. And the common toggle keys is caps lock, num lock. So if you press caps lock 1, you can see the light blinking on the keyboard. That means caps lock is active, and now whatever you will type will be printed in a capitals. If you again press the same caps lock key, it is deactivated. So keys of this sort, which can be activated or deactivated by pressing it once, they are known as toggle keys. Apart from toggle key, we have arrow keys. Then we have sticky keys. Now what are these sticky keys? Keys which are used along with some other key to make them functional. For example, Alt, Control, Shift. So if you just keep pressing Alt, just pressing Alt, nothing along with it, it will have no significance. So Alt has to be used with some other key. Similarly, Control, CTRL. If you press Control, then nothing will happen. It has to be used along with some other key. So these are the keys which are known as sticky keys. So these are some of the keys of keyboards which are very popularly used. Besides them, you can see escape, you can see tab key, then you can see page up, page down, insert, end, and so on. The other input device is mouse. Now children, mouse is basically a pointing device and has very limited feature of inputting data. In case if you have a graphical user interface, suppose you want to run any application and that application is available in the form of icon, then you can simply take the mouse pointer to that icon and press the mouse button. It will get activated. But when it is required to type something, until or unless you have a virtual keyboard on the screen, you will not be able to type using mouse. So you can say mouse is an input device, but primarily it is a pointing device. Then monitor, very popular, most commonly used output device, and nowadays we have different categories of monitors, LED monitors, LCD screens. So this is a very popular output device on which the processed result is displayed. Printer is a kind of an output device whose function is to give you the hard copy of the data. Now if you are watching something on the screen, that is a soft copy. If you want to have that particular data in the form of tangible material that can be touched, that can be stored, then we need a printer. Nowadays we are making use of different types of printers like inkjet printers. Earlier we were making use of dot matrix printers. We have laser printers, thermal printers. So printer is a kind of a output device which helps you to extract information or watch information or access information in tangible or in the form of hard copy. Then we have a scanner. The function of scanner is to accept the data and convert it into digital format. For example, you must have seen every time when we need to get something xeroxed, we basically go to any of the shop and we give a document. What that person does is he simply places that document into the scanning machine and then take the photocopy. Now that is a photocopy. In case if you want to have it in a digital format, you can just scan it, computer is attached to it, and you can see that particular file is data in the form of a file also. So this is the function of scanner, to convert the data into digital format. Then we have web camera. The function of web camera is to capture the image. So you can say web camera is a input device, monitor is a output device. Don't get confused. Web camera is accepting the data in the form of image and then showing it in a digital form in your computer system. So this was all for today, children. We talked about all the topics that we have studied under basics of information technology, and this is just one part. Some topics are left that I would be covering in the second class. So this is a revision of all the topics, a quick revision of all the topics that we covered in the basics of information technology, and the remaining topics we would be doing in our next class. So after this presentation, what you can do is you can just quickly go through all previous presentations so that things are very fresh and clear in your mind. And after watching this presentation and watching all previous presentations, just go and complete the assignment. Now, it is quite possible that many a times the question in the assignments are repeated, but please do write them, do answer them, because there is no harm in learning anything for multiple times. It would be a kind of a revision for you. So this is all for today, children. Thank you.